So, I mean, because you love rowing, so you're kind of carrying on, but you're carrying on in the basis that that wasn't successful. But I guess you must have enjoyed the sport so much, or enjoyed the camaraderie. I mean, what was it that made you decide to carry on after being so disappointed?
It's kind of a no-brainer. Like, I love rowing and I love the sport, and we were good at it, and I knew that I was good at it. I was standing around, I was doing the same program that the girls around me were doing. We got a silver in the quad, we got a bronze in the double. We had a very good program. Went on to the multiple world champions. I knew how good we were, and I think if I wasn't going to leave it at 23, I was going to carry on. Next games were London, so I mean, all of those things put together, I was always going to carry on.
Of course, yeah.
And a lot of what's sad is a lot of that team retired. So then we had to kind of build up from nothing in 2009. I had to swap sides because we had no bow siders, so I was a stroke sider.
Oh, right. I forgot you were a stroke sider.
Someone tapped me on the shoulder in 2000. I think it was probably going into our first camp in 2009, and said, "Can you swap sides?" And I went, "Oh, well, do I have to?" And he kind of went, "We haven't got anyone on bow side." So I was asked to swap, and I swapped sides to the bow side. And that's how decimated we were. So it was a rebuilding year. I had a lot of fun. We had a great crew. And we didn't medal that year. We came 5th again. So, but it was more of a trying to get new rowers experience in 2009, leading into the long season of 2010, which was the races in Carapiro in New Zealand. Yeah. So it was an interesting couple of years leading up to London.
How did it feel, with other women winning medals? And that year with Granger and Watkins in the double, and then Stanning and Glover coming in the pair. I mean, did that make you feel motivated? Did you feel a bit second-class citizens in the women's 8? What was?
I think we always had. I think the 8 for a long time had a bit of a chip on their shoulder, because you have to prioritise the medal-winning boats, and that's how our system works, and it's how our whole system works, and it's nothing you could say, oh, so-and-so was given this and we weren't given it. I mean, we were given every opportunity, but it's that day in, day out air. But it's saying that it's really important to have those people around. I learned so much from having Catherine around, having Fran around, having Debbie float around, all of the different things to the game, and just learning how they did it, and having that confidence that, I'm doing the same thing that these girls are doing that are winning everything. So, it was more helpful than a hindrance. And then having Heather and Helen kind of jump onto the scene in 2010, I guess it was quite hard as a sweep rower to turn around. We were just there in 2010. We just missed out on a medal, and they kind of go bam, and they won a silver in 2010. But it's if you dwell on being annoyed about other people for too long, you're just going to yourself, and I've seen people do it. I've seen people really annoyed, and you've got to be really excited for that being with the team. And then little did we know they would come in and absolutely dominate the women's pair for the next 6 years, and that's amazing to have in your team. When those people are going out there winning medals in your team, and they're part of your group, and you train with them day in, day out, you're racing against them. I did 6 years of final trials in a pair against Heather and Helen, so I was kind of up against it for a long time. I think I came second 4 times to them. So
that's pretty cool.
It's you've got to be big enough and get over yourself enough to learn from people around you.
Yeah. So in that Olympiad, again, in that qualifying regatta, you really delivered. I think it was in Bled in 2011. Again, you had to be top 5, but you ended up coming away with a bronze medal.
Yeah, we did it again. And Paul Thompson was our coach, and he was coach for the team for 17 years, and he knew how to do it. And he'd always tell us to be good enough to qualify in the 8, you've got to be good enough to be on the podium, because it's that close. And every single time I was in a race for qualifying, it was that close. And I always remember, this is a funny story. The BBC came and filmed us before the World Champs, because they kind of get interested as you're running up to the games. And Gary Herbert was in the launch, and they came to watch us doing 500, and we were going to do a flying 500, and we're going to make it really fast. So we did a flying 500 in Varese, which is hot, lake and it's a deep lake. So we did like a 1:23.
Wow.
Flying 500. So it's quite fast. And we were okay. Or 1:23, 1:24. Anyway, we were racing and we knew we were going to be on for hopefully for a medal or be there or thereabouts. And we were in 4th or 5th with 500 meters to go. And our cox, Caroline O'Connor, just said, like, do that 500 and do it now. Like, do the 1:23 500 now. It's the magic thing of the 8 that if everyone does the same thing at the same time, magic can happen. And we all just went, okay. And we negative split the race. So I think our coaches told us off. And we did a 1:26 last 500 in a 2K race, which is under world record pace if you did that for the whole thing. So we absolutely smashed it. And we got a bronze, yeah. The London Games.
Did that feel as good as Munich, or about time that we've got another medal, or what was your feeling then?
It felt like a long time for another medal, and I vowed like I'm not going to wait another 4 years to stand on the podium again. I had to wait another blooming 5 years, but it wasn't as good as a race as the Munich race. The Munich race we were so written off. And everyone just was like, let's qualify for Beijing. And that race was kind of like we were on the back foot. We hadn't had a great start to the race, but it was magical that our cox said, do a massive 500 and you can win a medal, and we did. So in that terms, yeah, it was a really special race. Yeah,
I remember. I think you were being interviewed by the BBC, or the Women's 8, and each individual had to say something to the team. And the Scottish woman that was in your 8 in 2012,
Lindsay McGuire. Yeah.
I think and the camera asked her, what is your target in the games? And she was kind of a bit hesitant and a bit unsure. And she looked at you guys who all stood round, and she kind of said, "A bronze medal?" Like it was a question.
I remember.
And I just wonder, in the sense of, for that season, home Olympics and so on, what was your belief like in the 8? And
wow. What happened? So yeah, there we go again, bronze medalists running into the games. And we had boat speed, but then we just had an absolutely shocking year. Everyone was injured. I don't think we ever rode in our final lineup until the last. No, we didn't race the lineup at any World Cup. The whole team was kind of decimated with injury and illness. It just was one of those shocking years, and it happened to fall in the Olympic year. We had 2 girls got flown home from our final training camps because they had a broken rib and a bulging disc. So we arrived at the games knowing your speeds, don't you? You know how fast we go. We do pieces all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Going into the games, we knew we weren't fast enough, and we get compared against. So we trained with the women in the lightweights, trained together, and every time we did pieces, you'd get ranked or the list against records pace or gold medal pace, and you had Heather and Helen, you had Sophie and Kat lightweight double, you had the lightweight men's 4, you had Catherine and Anna, these were all won Olympic gold or silver medals, and you had Mark and Zach, and we knew we were miles off, and we just hadn't got that pace. We'd missed too much time. I was physically the best I'd ever been. I'd done everything. I ticked every box. I'd pulled PBs. But in 8, you need to have 9 people being on their game, and we'd missed too much. And I look back and think we came 5th. We kind of limped into the final. And again, sorry Australia, but we beat Australia by a hair in the final. And it was a different feeling to Beijing, because in Beijing we were fast. In London, it was just complete emptiness of, we'd done this for 4 years and it just not happened. We hadn't got it. We weren't fast enough.
Did that take away your enjoyment of the London Games, or?
No, I think, good question. It took away my enjoyment. The regatta was unbelievable. The people, the British public, was probably the most ridiculous crowds I've ever had at a rowing race. And the feeling of the games was epic. Being in home games, you'd walk around the place, people would talk to you. Everyone was just mad for British athletes. So that made it probably a bit more special. But the question you get asked and you know this as an Olympic rower, but did you win a medal? Did you win a medal? See a medal? Did you win a medal? No one, and maybe it's more, I don't know, it'd be interesting to know what you think about your era of rowing, but now the media are just like the medal table, and it's about winning medals, and you come back and everyone goes, "Can I see your medal?" And people get fixated. And I've got one now because people are fixated on it. But yeah, they want to see it, and when you don't have one, they don't realise that it really. When you say I didn't win a medal, it's literally going and digging something into your heart. They don't know that. They just want to be excited. And the look. I wish I could film it. The look you have when you tell someone you didn't win a medal, they're like, bang. They like walk off, or they're like, oh, no, I didn't try hard enough. Yeah, if only you knew. Like I just didn't. Yeah, and I think that's as crushing as anything. Like, the public's just, and we're just lowly rowers, so I can't imagine what these big sports superstars feel when they get slated for doing something badly or saying they didn't try hard enough. Or I hate it when people ever say, the England rugby team, they didn't try hard enough, or they didn't want it. Of course they did. About athletes that spend their entire life doing this one thing. Of course they wanted it. I can't even imagine what they go through, because those few comments to me are heartbreaking. So
had you any idea, after London, I mean, you decided to carry on again. Had you any idea what that Olympiad would be like for you?
Yeah, I decided to carry on. I was 27 in London. I think my mum wanted to get a real job. I think people around me probably saw how hard it was. And people always think, Olympic rowing is hard because you're physically tired all the time. And yeah, that is one of the hardest things. But it's like a mental game of being on your game all the time and having those setbacks and carrying on. And you set yourself for a four year period. And okay, now I work in an industry now where people have big big time plans, and I understand that. But I think that going, okay, here we go again, another 4 years. And I'm looking back at 2012 on not just one Olympiad. I'm looking back at a whole 2 Olympiads of coming 5th, and part of me probably thought, can I do that again? What happens if I go again and don't do well? What's my view of myself? What's my view of everything I've done for my entire life up until this point? And I think I had much more realization of questioning that after the 2012 games. And I took a longer break. So I went off, me and my mate Sophie Hosking, we went off to Australia. We had friends in Melbourne. We went and trained there for a bit. She retired, but I did some training at Melbourne Uni Boat Club and was there for the best part of 2 months to go away and just take myself out of things. And I knew my heart of hearts was going to carry on, but I really had to make sure that was the right decision.
What made that Olympics different? I mean, was there anything you could see at the beginning of that Olympiad that kind of, this is going to feed in to make it something special, or was that realization something that happened later, closer to the Rio Olympics, that you were good enough to win that medal?
It was probably something a bit closer. Again, after 2012, a lot of people retired, so we were back to square one. We had quite a new age and a mixture of people in the 2013 crew for South Korea, and that was it was a kind of a fun world. We came 4th, annoyingly. Kind of story of my life is 4th and 5th, and we were there or thereabouts, but we got beaten and came 4th. And it was a new group of girls came through, and I think they brought quite a lot to the team. And I think we had a really good team. But saying that, we had a shocking year. The next year, 2014, was the Bosbarn World Champs Amsterdam. Yeah. And we struggled in and came 6th. So it was a pretty disastrous year leading into another qualifying.
Yeah.
But then we had some really amazing girls that came along that were really big and strong and kind of injected a lot of speed to our boat. Vicky Mayaleka, Donna Etiabet both came along. Ro Bradbury. We had a new wave of girls that really made an impact, and we came 4th at the next year. We didn't win a medal, but the qualifying in Egg-Billet, we came 4th and showed a lot of speed. And we broke records. We went faster than any 8s I've ever been in before. We bashed out a 6:56 in Varese at the World Cup, kind of got British record, and
Wow.
speed, and speed's what you need to have. You can have
5:56.
the what?
5:56.
5:56. I said 6:56. I was thinking about pairs. Yeah, 5:56. God, I don't want to run for another minute in that 8. That's too long. Yeah, 5:56 you did in that 8, and you've got to have speed, and you can have belief and trust and all these things I think we had in 2016, but you've got to be fast. And I think if you can't show boat speed, it's demoralizing. It was simple for 2012, but we had speed, and we knew we had a fast group. And unfortunately for the sculling team, they didn't qualify a quad, so we kind of got 2 of the best scullers in the world came into our 8, in Mel Wilson and Frances Horton. So they came into the 8 and strengthened us massively. We've got Polly Swan came back from injury, so our crew looked quite different from 2015 for 2016. But we put in 3 major players, and they made a huge impact on the boat. Yeah,
was did your PBs on the erg get any better as you got older, or what's your PB on your 2K erg, and when did you pull it?
Yeah, I PB'd in 2016 and everything. My 2K, it's like my bugbear. I pulled my 5K. I pulled a PB. I did 17:31 on 5, and then I was sick. And I this is part of what I want to make sure I did. Like Tomo used to look at everything we did, and he always used to say, just make yourself pick up. Like you make myself. I shouldn't have any questions. You just pick yourself, select yourself. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure I could do everything and nail everything. And my 2K, I was I had a cold for, wasn't very well, but I was like, I'm still going to do it. And I did it, and I equaled my PB. I think it's 6:41 is my 2K PB, which isn't. I'm not a giant, but I was fairly punchy. I pulled my weight on the ergo, and I pulled PBs in my half hours, half-hour ergos, 5K, 250s, 100 meters. Came second again in the pair to Heather and Helen, me and Polly. I did my best ever my sculling result. I came fourth sculling. So I kind of done everything I needed to do. So the point it came to selection, I had to be selected. You had no choice.
When did you start to realise that year that something special was possible? 2016.
We knew we had a good group because we knew the quad hadn't qualified, and they made a decision that they were going to then strengthen the 8 with that. So we went to a Viz camp in the January in Portugal and rode the 8 quite a lot, and it was just really good. And we'd go out every session, and we'd have really good long sessions with whoever we put in. And we're still running with a group of 12, 14 people for the 8, and it's impossible to overstate how important it is to have those people. And I watched your interview with Kathy the other day, and she said something that really hit home with me, that's saying the people that add to our medal count sometimes are people that are in the background and don't get any plaudits. They're not written about. They're not put on TV, and it's the kind of this without the strength and depth that we have in the rowing team. We weren't just 8 plus 1, 9 people sitting in a boat. We were 12, 14 of us, or if you go back for my entire career, oh my God, like hundreds of women working on this project, and every single one of them, I can't tell you enough how important their input was. And they're off, they retire, they go, and no one really even, I mean, none of us get thanked that much. It's like that, bye, see you later. Forget the code for Caversham, please, you don't break in. But yeah, it really hit home. When she said that, I completely agree with her. That no one really thanks you for being a spare, and it's a really hard job, and you get asked to do everything. Without that massive cohort of women we had, we wouldn't be as fast as we were.
Yeah.